What if I told you that in the next 72 hours, a winter storm so powerful will hit that it could leave millions without power for weeks? This is not a drill. This is not another weather prediction that fizzles out. Right now, meteorologists are calling this the most dangerous winter event in decades, and what happens in the next 3 days could change everything. 17 states are in the direct path. Over 100 million Americans will feel the impact. And here is what nobody is telling you. The worst part is not the snow. It is what comes after. Stay with me because at the 30-second mark, I am revealing the 3 items you need to grab from the store right now before the shelves go empty. And if you think your area is safe, think again. This storm is breaking every computer model we have. Right now, Arctic air is plunging south at a speed meteorologists have rarely seen. We are talking about temperatures dropping 50 degrees in just 6 hours in some locations. 50 degrees. Imagine going from a comfortable 45 degrees to -5 in the time it takes to watch a movie. But here is where it gets terrifying. This is not just cold air. This is a collision. Warm, moisture-laden air from the Gulf of Mexico is rushing north at the same time. When these two air masses meet, they create something forecasters call a bomb cyclone. And yes, that is the actual meteorological term, and yes, it is as bad as it sounds. A bomb cyclone happens when atmospheric pressure drops so rapidly that the storm explodes in intensity. We are talking about pressure dropping 24 millibars in 24 hours. To put that in perspective, a typical strong storm might drop 10 millibars. This storm, we are looking at potential drops of 30 to 40 millibars. That is hurricane force winds combined with blizzard conditions. So what are those 3 critical items I promised you? First, water. Not just a couple of bottles. You need 1 gallon per person per day for at least 7 days. That is 7 gallons per person. Power outages mean no water pumps. No water pumps mean nothing comes out of your tap. Second, a way to heat at least 1 room without electricity. Space heaters will not work when the grid goes down. You need propane, kerosene, or a fireplace. Third, medications. If you take daily medications, you need at least a 2-week supply. Pharmacies cannot operate without power, and roads will be impassable. Now here is something fascinating that most people do not understand about these megastorms. The National Weather Service has a category called High Impact Winter Storm. Out of the hundreds of winter storms that hit America each year, only 5 to 7 earn this designation. This storm is not just high impact. Meteorologists are whispering about creating a new category entirely. Let me paint you a picture of what is coming, state by state, hour by hour, and I want you to drop a comment right now telling me where you are watching from, because in the next few minutes, I am going to tell you exactly when the storm hits your area and what specific dangers you face. The storm begins its journey on Sunday evening. Montana and North Dakota get hit first, but this is not the main event. This is the warm-up act. Temperatures will drop to -20 degrees with wind chills reaching -50. That is cold enough to cause frostbite on exposed skin in under 5 minutes. Farmers in these states are scrambling to move livestock indoors. One rancher I spoke with told me he has not seen anything like this since the blizzard of 1978. By Monday morning, the storm shifts east and intensifies. South Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming. Here is where things get dangerous. Snow begins falling at rates of 3 to 4 inches per hour. That is faster than snowplows can clear it. Roads become impassable within hours. Interstate 90, Interstate 80, Interstate 29, all expected to close. We are talking about major transportation arteries shutting down completely. But wait, because here is the twist that changes everything. While the northern plains are getting buried in snow, something else is happening in the south. Severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, in January. Yes, you heard that right. The same storm system that is bringing historic blizzards to the north is spawning tornado warnings in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. The temperature contrast is so extreme that we have blizzard warnings and tornado watches active at the same time, separated by just 300 miles. By Monday afternoon, the storm reaches Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. This is where the bomb cyclone really explodes. Wind gusts exceeding 70 miles per hour combined with heavy snow create whiteout conditions. Zero visibility, emergency services cannot respond to calls, ambulances cannot reach hospitals. One fire chief in Minneapolis told me they are pre-positioning crews because they know they will not be able to move once the storm hits. Here is a number that should shock you. The National Guard is pre-deploying over 15,000 troops across 7 states. 15,000. That is more than were deployed for most hurricanes. They know what is coming, and now the moment you have been waiting for. At minute 3 and 20 seconds, I am going to reveal the single biggest mistake people make during these storms that puts their lives at risk. But first, you need to understand what happens on Tuesday, because Tuesday is when this storm reaches its peak intensity. Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio. Tuesday morning hits these states like a freight train. Chicago could see 24 inches of snow in 24 hours. Detroit, Milwaukee, Indianapolis, all facing similar totals. But here is what makes this different from regular snowstorms. The wind. Sustained winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour with gusts to 75. That is tropical storm force winds. When you combine that with heavy snow, you do not get a snowstorm. You get a ground blizzard. Snow that has already fallen gets picked up and whipped around, creating drifts 15 to 20 feet high. Roads disappear, houses get buried, people get trapped. The power grid is the next domino to fall. Ice accumulation on power lines combined with high winds means widespread outages. And here is the critical thing most people do not realize. In these temperatures, without heat, your house becomes uninhabitable in 4 to 6 hours. Pipes freeze and burst in 8 to 12 hours. We are looking at potential power outages lasting 1 to 2 weeks in some areas. Over 40 million people could lose power. 40 million. That is more than the population of California. Now, remember that critical mistake I mentioned? Here it is, carbon monoxide poisoning. Every single time we have a major winter storm, people die from carbon monoxide poisoning because they try to heat their homes with grills, generators, or camping stoves indoors. Last year, over 400 people died this way. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, and deadly. You cannot smell it, you cannot see it, and by the time you feel symptoms, it is often too late. If you are going to use a generator, it must be at least 20 feet away from your house, not in the garage with the door open, not on the porch, 20 feet away, downwind. Get a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector for every floor of your house. This costs $30 and could save your entire family. But the storm is not done yet. By Wednesday, it slams into the Northeast, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all of New England. Boston is looking at potential snow totals exceeding 30 inches. 30 inches. That would make this one of the top 5 snowstorms in Boston history. New York City, which usually handles snow well, is facing a different problem: coastal flooding. Here is the twist nobody saw coming. The storm is so intense that it is creating a phenomenon called storm surge, but for a winter storm. High winds pushing water onshore combined with high tide means coastal flooding in areas that typically do not flood. Parts of lower Manhattan, coastal New Jersey, Long Island, all at risk. And the cold behind this storm? It is historic. We are talking about record-breaking cold that lasts not for days, but for weeks. The polar vortex, that mass of cold air that normally stays locked over the Arctic, is breaking apart and spilling south. This does not happen often. When it does, we see temperature records that stand for decades. Minneapolis could hit minus 30 degrees, Chicago minus 20, even Atlanta could drop below zero. Yes, Atlanta. Snow in Atlanta is unusual but manageable. 0 degrees in Atlanta? That is catastrophic. The infrastructure is not built for it. Water pipes throughout the city would freeze and burst. Power demand would skyrocket beyond the grid's capacity. Let me give you some perspective on how rare this is. In Atlanta, the temperature has only dropped below 0 3 times in recorded history. This could be the 4th. In Dallas, we could see the longest sustained freezing period since 1899. That is not a typo, 1899. Here is what worries emergency managers the most: the compounding effects. It is not just the snow. It is not just the cold. It is not just the power outages. It is all of it happening at once, over a massive geographic area for an extended period of time. Hospitals are already stressed from flu season. Now add in car accidents from icy roads, falls from slipping on ice, carbon monoxide poisoning, hypothermia cases, heart attacks from shoveling snow. Emergency rooms will be overwhelmed while simultaneously facing staffing shortages because their workers cannot get to the hospital. Supply chains will break down. Trucks cannot drive in these conditions. Grocery stores will run out of fresh food within 3 days. Pharmacies will run low on medications within a week. Gas stations will run out of fuel, not because there is a shortage, but because tanker trucks cannot deliver. Now, here is something most people do not think about: your car. If you have to drive during or immediately after this storm, you need to prepare your vehicle like it is a survival shelter, because it might have to be. Keep your gas tank above half full at all times. A full tank prevents your fuel line from freezing and gives you more options if you get stranded. Pack a winter survival kit in your trunk. Blankets, extra warm clothes, non-perishable food, water, flashlight, first aid kit, shovel, ice scraper, jumper cables, sand, or kitty litter for traction. Here is a trick that could save your life. Keep a candle and matches in your car. If you get stranded, a single candle burning in your car can raise the interior temperature by several degrees. It does not sound like much, but it could mean the difference between life and death if you are stuck for hours. And speaking of being stuck, let me tell you about the whiteout conditions. Visibility drops to 0. You cannot see the hood of your own car. This is when accidents happen. Multi-car pileups involving 50, 60, even 100 vehicles. It happened in Michigan a few years ago. 70-car pileup on Interstate 94. 1 person died, dozens injured. If you get caught in whiteout conditions while driving, here is what you do. Turn on your hazard lights, slow down gradually, pull as far off the road as safely possible, stay in your car, keep your seatbelt on, run your engine for 10 minutes every hour to stay warm, make sure your exhaust pipe is not blocked by snow, and wait for help. Do not try to walk for help. People get disoriented in whiteouts and freeze to death within a few hundred yards of their cars. Your car is your shelter. Stay with it. Now let me talk about something that does not get enough attention: the economic impact of storms like this. The estimated cost of this storm is already being calculated in the billions. Some estimates are reaching $50 to $70 billion. That includes property damage, lost productivity, infrastructure repair, agricultural losses. Farmers are facing catastrophic losses. Cattle freeze to death when temperatures drop this low, this fast. Crops that were still in the field will be destroyed. One agricultural economist told me this single storm could wipe out an entire year's profit for thousands of farms. The airline industry will take a massive hit. Thousands of flights already canceled. Airports will shut down for days. The ripple effect means flight delays and cancellations across the entire country, even in areas not affected by the storm. But here is what keeps me up at night: the people who will not make it through this. Every major winter storm claims lives. The elderly living alone who lose power and heat. The homeless population with nowhere to go. The people who make bad decisions like trying to walk home in blizzard conditions or using dangerous heating methods. If you have elderly neighbors, check on them. If you know someone who might struggle during extended power outages, make a plan now to help them. Community is how we survive disasters like this. Let me tell you about the warming centers that are opening up. Cities across the storm's path are opening emergency shelters. These are heated facilities where you can go if you lose power. Libraries, community centers, schools. Find out now where the nearest warming center is to your home. Do not wait until you are in crisis. And here is something critical about warming centers. Bring your medications, bring your important documents, bring your phone charger. These centers can be chaotic. People lose things. Keep your valuables with you at all times. For those of you with medical conditions, listen carefully. If you use oxygen, CPAP machines, or other electrically powered medical devices, you need a backup power plan. Many insurance companies will cover the cost of a backup generator for people with medical necessity. Call your insurance company today, not tomorrow. Today. Home health agencies are already scrambling to stockpile supplies because they know their nurses might not be able to reach patients for days. If you receive home health services, make sure you have extra supplies on hand. Now let me address something I keep seeing on social media. People saying this is just another overhyped weather event that will not be as bad as predicted. Let me be very clear. Meteorologists do not hype storms. They warn about them. And when every major weather forecasting model, every meteorologist, every emergency management agency is saying the same thing, you need to listen. The technology we have today is incredibly accurate. 3-day forecasts now are as accurate as 1-day forecasts were 30 years ago. When meteorologists say a major storm is coming, they are right over 90% of the time. Here is what the models are showing. A storm system that ranks in the top 1% of winter storms in terms of intensity, geographic scope, and potential impact. This is not hype. This is reality. And here is the thing about preparing for disasters. If you prepare and the storm is not as bad as predicted, the worst thing that happens is you have extra food and water. But if you do not prepare and the storm is as bad as predicted, the consequences can be deadly. Something else people are not talking about enough: mental health during extended winter storms. Being trapped in your house for days, possibly without power, dealing with stress and uncertainty, it takes a toll. Especially for people who already struggle with depression or anxiety. If you have mental health conditions, make sure you have enough medication. Have phone numbers for crisis hotlines programmed into your phone. Check on friends and family members who might be struggling. A simple phone call can make a huge difference. For families with children, this is going to be challenging. Schools will be closed. Kids will be stuck inside. Power might be out, meaning no TV, no video games. Have board games ready. Have books. Have activities planned. Keep kids busy and their minds occupied. Here is a tip that works great. Make it an adventure. Kids often respond better to challenging situations when they are framed as exciting rather than scary. Build a fort in the living room. Tell stories by candlelight. Make it a memorable experience rather than a traumatic one. But back to the storm timeline, because we are not done yet. After the storm system moves through, Thursday and Friday bring the deep freeze. This is when the real cold sets in. Record low temperatures, dangerous wind chills. This is also when infrastructure starts failing at scale. Water mains burst throughout cities. Natural gas systems struggle to keep up with demand. More power outages occur as the grid strains under maximum load. This is when things can go from bad to worse very quickly. Cities are already planning for water main breaks. One city manager told me they expect hundreds of breaks throughout their system. When water mains break in freezing temperatures, the repair work is exponentially more difficult. You are trying to fix pipes in -20-degree weather. It is brutal work. And those repairs take time. Some areas could be without water for days. This is why having water stored is so critical. Not just for drinking, but for flushing toilets, washing hands, basic hygiene. Here is something else. Your home's plumbing. Pipes freeze when temperatures stay below 20 degrees for extended periods. Interior pipes rarely freeze if you keep your heat on, but if you lose power, your pipes are at risk. Keep cabinet doors open under sinks to let warm air circulate. Let faucets drip slightly to keep water moving through pipes. Know where your main water shutoff valve is, because if a pipe bursts, you need to shut off water immediately to prevent flooding. If your pipes do freeze, never use a torch or open flame to thaw them. You will start a fire. Use a hairdryer or heat lamp and start from the faucet working back toward the freeze. Now let me talk about pets, because they are vulnerable too. Dogs and cats that normally go outside need to stay in. Frostbite happens to animals just like humans. Their paws, ears, and tails are especially vulnerable. Make sure you have enough pet food and medications. Make sure they have access to unfrozen water. If you lose power, your pets will feel the cold too. Keep them warm with blankets. Let them sleep with you for shared body heat. And for anyone with livestock, this is crisis mode. Get animals into shelters now. Make sure you have feed and water that will not freeze. Ranchers in the path of this storm are working around the clock right now to protect their herds. Here is a question I get asked a lot. Should I stock up on food? The answer is yes, but be smart about it. You do not need to panic buy. You do not need to fight other shoppers for the last loaf of bread. Here is what you actually need. Non-perishable items that do not require cooking if you lose power. Canned goods, peanut butter, crackers, dried fruit, nuts, protein bars. Focus on calorie-dense foods because your body burns more calories trying to stay warm in cold conditions. Do not forget a manual can opener. Electric can openers do not work without power, and you will feel pretty silly staring at cans of food you cannot open. Stock up on batteries, flashlights, radios, anything that needs batteries. Get extras. LED flashlights last much longer than traditional flashlights and use less battery power. Have a battery-powered or hand-crank radio. When the power is out and cell service is spotty, a radio might be your only source of information about when conditions will improve. Charge everything now. Phones, tablets, laptops, battery banks. Charge it all. When the power goes out, you want every device at 100%. Here is a pro tip. Put your phone on low power mode and turn off unnecessary apps and notifications. Your battery will last much longer. Better yet, turn your phone off entirely and only turn it on when you need to make a call or check for updates. Something people forget: cash. ATMs do not work without power. Credit card readers do not work without power. When the power is out, cash is king. Have at least $200 to $300 in small bills on hand. Now here is where I want to shift gears and talk about the science behind why this storm is so unusual. Climate patterns are changing. The jet stream, that river of air high in the atmosphere that normally keeps Arctic air locked in the Arctic, is becoming more unstable. This means we are seeing more extreme weather events. Not necessarily more storms, but when storms do form, they are more intense. Warmer ocean temperatures mean more moisture in the atmosphere. More moisture means heavier snow. It is basic physics. Some scientists call this the new normal. I call it the new reality. We need to be prepared for weather events that our grandparents never had to deal with. Infrastructure built 50 years ago was not designed for the extremes we are seeing now. Here is a sobering thought. Climate models have been predicting this for years. Not this specific storm, but the pattern of more extreme winter weather events. The models were right, and they are predicting more of this in the future. But knowing that does not help us right now. Right now, we need to focus on getting through the next week safely. So let me give you a day-by-day, hour-by-hour survival guide. Sunday evening, make your final preparations. Check your emergency supplies one more time. Fill bathtubs with water. Charge devices. Bring in anything from outside that could blow away. Move your car to a location where it will not get blocked in by snow. Monday, the storm begins in earnest. Do not travel unless absolutely necessary. If you must go out, go early before conditions deteriorate. Tell someone where you are going and when you expect to return. Check in with elderly neighbors one last time. Tuesday, peak intensity. Stay inside. Monitor weather reports. Conserve phone battery. If you lose power, gather family members in one room to conserve heat. Wear layers. Hats and socks are critical because you lose most body heat through your head and extremities. Wednesday, conditions begin to improve in western areas but worsen in the east. Still not safe to travel. Power restoration efforts begin, but will take days. Be patient. Utility crews are working as fast as they can in dangerous conditions. Thursday and Friday, the deep freeze. This is when many people think the danger is over, but it is not. This is when infrastructure fails. This is when pipes burst. Stay vigilant. The weekend, slow recovery begins. Roads start reopening. Power is restored to most areas, but some will still be without. Boil water notices might be in effect due to water main breaks. Here is what you need to remember. This is not a sprint. It is a marathon. You need to pace yourself, conserve your resources, and think long-term. And one more thing. After the storm passes, there is still danger. Heart attacks from shoveling snow kill dozens of people every year. If you are over 50, have heart disease, or are not in good shape, hire someone to shovel or use a snowblower. The exertion of shoveling heavy snow in extreme cold puts enormous strain on your heart. If you must shovel, take frequent breaks, dress in layers, stay hydrated, and stop immediately if you feel chest pain, shortness of breath, or dizziness. Carbon monoxide danger continues after the storm. People running generators for days, blocked exhaust pipes on houses, it all creates risk. Keep those carbon monoxide detectors running and watch for frostbite. If your fingers, toes, ears, or nose become numb and turn white or grayish, that is frostbite. Get indoors immediately and warm the affected areas gradually. Do not rub frostbitten skin. Do not use hot water. Lukewarm water only. Now, I want to talk directly to anyone watching this who is thinking they can just tough it out without preparing. Listen to me very carefully. This is not the time for pride or stubbornness. This is the time to be smart and realistic about the dangers. Every year we hear stories of people who thought they could handle it and ended up in tragic situations. Do not be that person. Do not put yourself or your family at risk because you did not want to seem scared or overly cautious. There is no shame in preparing. There is no shame in taking warnings seriously. There is no shame in asking for help if you need it. And for those of you watching from areas that will not be directly hit by the storm, do not tune out. This storm affects you too. Supply chain disruptions will impact the entire country. Your relatives and friends in the affected areas will need support. Also, prepare yourselves. If this storm can happen there, similar events could happen where you are. Use this as a wake-up call to get your own emergency preparedness in order. Now, before we wrap up, I need you to do something for me. Drop a comment right now telling me where you are watching from. Tell me if you are prepared. Tell me if you have questions. I cannot respond to everyone, but I read every comment, and your input helps me create better content to help more people. And if you found this information valuable, hit that subscribe button. I am tracking this storm minute by minute and will be providing updates as conditions change. You want to be notified when those updates come out. Here is what is coming in the next video. I am going to show you exactly how to survive extended power outages in extreme cold. I am talking about techniques that preppers use, techniques that Alaska residents use, techniques that actually work when everything else fails. You do not want to miss that video. But there is one more critical thing I need to tell you before you go. The absolute most important thing you can do right now, have a family communication plan. Decide on a meeting place if you get separated. Decide on an out-of-state contact person everyone will check in with if local phone service goes down. Write down important phone numbers because smartphones are useless when they are dead. Make sure every family member knows where the emergency supplies are. Make sure everyone knows where the water shutoff valve is. Make sure everyone knows what to do if there is a fire. Make sure everyone knows how to use the fire extinguisher. These conversations need to happen now, tonight, before the storm hits. Do not wait. Do not assume everyone knows what to do. Sit down as a family and make a plan. And here is my final piece of advice. Trust your instincts. If something feels dangerous, it probably is. If you think you should leave an area, leave. If you think you should call for help, call. Better to be cautious and wrong than to ignore warning signs and end up in a crisis situation. This storm is historic. This storm is dangerous. This storm is going to test our communities and our infrastructure in ways we have not seen in decades, but we will get through it. We always do. Americans are resilient. We take care of each other. We rise to the challenge. So prepare, stay safe, check on your neighbors, and we will all make it through to the other side. Drop that comment now telling me where you are watching from, and I will see you